We've been talking about in previous videos this idea of conflict, and we talked about it as conflict being seen as an opportunity as opposed to a detriment or something to avoid. The question I would ask you and ask all of us is, why does conflict make us uncomfortable? Why does it seem so difficult and challenging and something that a lot of us would rather just avoid if we had the opportunity? What I want to share with you in this video is the idea of the conflict cycle. I think if we better understand the cycle of conflict, where it comes from, the better opportunity we have to understand ourselves and others and learn how to intervene. So again, we can head it off and meet the goals of conflict. And that is simply, let's reduce the frequency, let's reduce or minimize the severity or intensity, and let's reduce the longevity. So here's the conflict cycle. It's simply this. There's kind of 4 parts to it. And the first part, or stage, if you will, is we have a conflict of need. Somewhere in us, something wasn't met, whether my need for a certain amount of control or belonging or emotional well-being or whatever it happens to be. Somehow that need wasn't met, which leads to emotional stress, which means I have an emotional reaction. And this stuff happens very quickly, almost to the point where it just kind of split seconds in our head is going on. We have an emotional reaction. Again, picture someone cutting you off in traffic and we're like, and we get frustrated around that. That's an emotional stress. At that moment, though, we have a critical decision to make, and we have a short amount of time to make it before our body starts to react automatically. And that is, we need to decide what we're going to say or do, and that's how the conflict cycle continues, because oftentimes out of that emotional stress or emotional reaction, we do or say something. When we do or say something, then it leads to someone else reacting to us, right? So imagine when I do or say something to you or someone else, then you're going to have some sort of maybe you have a conflict that's not met, and then you have emotional stress or reaction, and then you behave or say and do something, and then around and around and around we go. So as you can imagine, you watch conflict happen in front of us. We see people get louder. We see people get more animated. We see people's bodies change. Fists are clenched, jaws tense. We get veins pop out, our faces turn red, right? And we have these reactions to the point where sometimes we lose control and bad things happen, right? So as we continue our journey and through these videos, what I'd like you to think about today is, do you understand yourself enough to know what are those needs you have inside of you, and when they're not being met, can you sense the emotion before you do or say something? Can we intervene in ourselves through self-awareness? Can we catch ourselves in time to slow down our reactions and the things we say? The other part of the coin is, when other people do things, can we be aware enough of ourselves to understand when our buttons get pushed, when our needs aren't being met, when we have emotional stress, so that I don't play into the cycle with somebody else. So we stop this tornado from going around and around and escalating more and more, that I stop and say, I'm not going to participate in that. Let's slow down and figure out what's going on. We'll talk more in future videos about steps to conflict resolution. But for today, again, self-awareness to understand, how does the conflict cycle work? Where does it come from? Conflict of need, all right, where needs aren't met, we have emotional stress or reaction. We then, out of that emotion, we behave or say or do something, and other people react to us, and around we go. Be the person that understands yourself, learn about yourself, so you can intervene and break the cycle.